Okay, welcome back. Against the backdrop of the planned August 1st commencement of a protest against hardships in the country, we're having this conversation with, on the one hand, Terence Kouanum, Special Advisor to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation on Public Affairs, and Ambassador Elijah Onyeagba. He's with us. He's Nigeria's former ambassador to Burundi. So thank you very much for being with us, gentlemen. The trouble now is a different perspective. The youths that one has seen and heard speaking are insistent on their right to protest. The ambassador just finished speaking, Terence, on the situation in Kenya. It's been quite tough on Kenya. There were councils that they don't go there. They did go there. Now there's going to have to be a mop-up, and all of this, it costs something. So the proposition from government now is that Nigeria doesn't need a nationwide protest. Things are being done. The government and all stakeholders are working around the clock to address some of these issues. That's where we are at now. So speak to that, if you would, Terence, briefly, please, that we don't need this protest now. A protest is necessary when government is not agreeable, when government is not interested, doesn't want to hear, or doesn't agree with something. Interestingly, the president has said that he's in agreement with some of the things, a lot of the things that are being said, but they are being addressed, as seriously as they should be. So against that backdrop, I guess the challenge now is that, are we going to put communication experts out there to let people see that it's our country? It's not government's country or anybody. It's our country, and whatever damage is caused, and God forbid, the worst kind of damage is for there to be a loss of life that you can never get back. So these are the fears that well-meaning people of society have expressed in counseling the people who are bent on a protest to kindly reconsider. Speak to that, Terence.
Well, thank you very much, Uncle Yori. First, let me address the issue that our sister called in the studio, and which is part of the issues we're having with our citizens. If you are living in Abuja and truly you are saying that within the last 1 year there is no impact on democracy in this city, it's quite unfair, because Abuja has been significantly developed in this administration. The face of this city is gradually coming up. Fuel is expensive, but she will admit that this government has launched the rail transport that is moving people to the offices and XYZ. And the issue of subsidy that have risen the price of fuel was an issue we also protested in this country, that we need it. Subsidy is here today. They are trying to stabilize the economy. And once the economy is stabilized, well, everybody knows that the price of fuel will come down naturally without any government pegging the price and XYZ. These things will come down naturally. So if you are in Abuja and truly these incentives are being given out in this city, everything is being set up in this city to cushion this effect, and then we are still not understanding with government, it's quite unfortunate. With the issue of this strike, government has properly engaged with whoever that has made himself available that he wants to protest. There's proper engagement. The stakeholders from the traditional rulers, religious leaders, the opinion leaders have been engaged properly to look at what government is doing. They have come out to appreciate that truly the government is up and down and doing, trying to make sure that Nigeria's pains are being cushioned, and if possible, immediately. We saw the resolutions that came out of the Federal Executive Council yesterday. That is to show you that government is taking the issues raised by these protesters very seriously to try and address them.
And I think
there's no need coming out to protest, and then you're coming out to protest to get the attention of government, and government has already given you attention and is addressing your concerns. So why is there need to go to the road and then trigger a crisis that you might not be able to control? Because the attention you need from government, you have gotten it already. And so there's no need coming out to protest again. If there's anyone that is pushing you to come to the road and protest, ask the person to move with his family to the road and protest.
Okay. Ambassador, this is your area where, because I was going to refer to body language, and you can't really quote body language. The body language of the president, the presidency, and all concerned has been sort of conciliatory. They've been saying the things that, you know, not to flare up passions. For instance, the one of agreeing entirely with them that these young people have a constitutional right to protest. Nobody can take that away from them. Although they advise against it, not just advising against it, but showing by their actions and by some of the things that they've been doing that, look, just as Terence was saying, you wanted our attention, you have our attention. We're working at this. Ambassador, before you coming on that, the delicate balance that government is playing, is trying to maintain in all of this, let me quickly take Otumba, who has called in, Otumba Adebo. Did I Adebo or Adebayo?
Adebo.
Otumba Adebo. Good morning to you, sir. Okay, quickly, please. Your call came in, and I said, let me put you on.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
And good morning to the guest. Yeah.
Yes. You're going to have to mute. Can you mute the volume of your TV set, please?
I'm not even there. I'm not there at all.
Wow. Okay. All right. Go ahead quickly, please.
The issue at stake is crisis. Like the ambassador said, the other one else was for police, but this one is about food inflation.
Indeed, food crisis.
Hunger is the last. And you know what the problem is? The grounds of those the protesters, you know their grounds? Their grounds is that those in government are living flamboyantly. They don't feel the hunger. And the people are hungry. And those government are not feeling it. 150 million give for each National Assembly member. In 21 billion has for VP, Lagos in Calabar Road, and so on and so forth. Presidential jet for president, and a lot of convoys from governors, presidents. They are living flamboyantly. That is what is annoying the Nigerian people.
Okay.
That is what they should address. They should address cost of governance. Once they do that, once they see examples that these people in government, they are also making sacrifices, then people will be glad to make sacrifices. But they are not.
I get your point. I get your point, Otumba Adebo. Thank you very much for calling in. And as you said, this is one of the larger differences between this impending protest and the NSAS protest. So back to you, Ambassador. I was talking about body language. So this Otumba that called in has just thrown in some more logs on the fire that, look, there are these things of the perception, the way people see. We are the people that are going through all of this, and we don't see any of that. You seem to be cushy. It seems to me that you're cushy. He cited the reasons why he thinks so, you know, some projects that he has deemed to be ostentatious, maybe extravagant. Monies from there are not diverted to this. So I was speaking about government's body language to this. Whereas government has stated that it is not going to sit by, or is it stand by, and let anything happen to the structure of security in the country, it still is being quite conciliatory in the way it is appealing to these people and trying to reason with them. Comment on that whole approach of governance, if you will, Ambassador, the way that they are trying to negotiate this situation through the manner and tone in which they are engaging with these people.
Thank you very much, Uncle Yuri. I think that it's important that we hear people, and what governments have done, this government that I know, is that they have been listening. Are there concerns about cutting cost of governance? Absolutely, yes. Are there concerns about the fact that it's looking like governments are not doing what they're asking the citizens to do? Absolutely, yes. But the question I'm asking, is there anything government is doing in relation to those concerns? Absolutely, yes. And I give you another example. Yes, we were, worried about the fact that, National Assembly did this and did that and all of that. But again, don't forget that it's still the same National Assembly from House of Reps, for example, before they went on recess, they actually came and said, given the fact that this is going on in the economy, we are giving up 50% of our salary for at least another 6 months. Now, if you have been a politician or you know politicians that are your friends, it's not that they are just greedy for greedy purposes. The expectation from an average politician in Nigeria from those of his constituents are actually quite crazy. You are feeding people, you have a constituency office, people are dying and they are calling on you every day to come and pay medical bills, to come and do ABCD and all of that. So the expectation is actually quite high, But again, it's important that governments communicate, because that's what I believe, that whatever be the issue, impression is stronger than reality. Whatever the perception is, it is the responsibility of government to find a way to communicate and relate with people with respect to what government is doing. And I'm saying, everybody's looking at National Assembly. How many of these people are also looking at the state governors and trying to touchlight their own expenditure? You know that before now, about 16 states of the federation, didn't have local government elected officials. So they were collecting monies for both the state and we're also collecting money for both the local governments. And nothing is happening at the locals. And the locals are simply there looking at the 50% or 52% the federal government gets as an allocation. How many of these locals understand that federal government exists, the state government exists as a subnational, and so does the local government? So yes, I hear all of these issues. We run a democratic government, and in democracy, we are governed by our constitution. And part of this governance by constitution allows the people right to demonstrate. But what we are saying is that just ensure that you are doing the right thing. Do not come out to dance to music that you do not know who is orchestrating or who is playing that music. And I'm saying that if you also look at what this government is doing, yeah, and it doesn't degenerate, because there's no sensible government that will sit down and allow public infrastructure to be destroyed. Then obviously you're not a responsible government. The government must also protect those public infrastructure. It doesn't even belong to government. The roads, the hospital, or anything that will be destroyed belongs to the citizens. And again, where one person's right stops is where another begins. For example, if a person A does not want to be part of it, why would the person A be inconvenienced on the account of the fact that person B must protest? So there are fine lines with respect to rights and privileges that we all enjoy as citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Indeed, Ambassador.
If you're protesting, do that peacefully.
It has begun to get a bit complex. You start to see some, I don't know, some notices. I don't know how official they are. You see notices from some people saying that, look, as far as we are concerned, we are not protesting. If anybody wants to protest, can you please either go back to your state or go to the federal capital to go and protest. Now, these are ideas that are both bothersome, troublesome, and it's like, if we're not careful, this thing could actually, it just has to be very, very carefully managed. And I think the government is doing all it can at the moment, from what I have seen them, their tone and their utterances, to sort of keep it on an even keel.
We need patriots, yes.
Yes, to keep it on an even keel. Prince in Abuja.
Yes.
The Prince in Abuja has called in. Good morning, Prince. Prince, you called in from Abuja. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Can you hear me very well, please?
Yes, I just heard you now.
Oh, okay. I say good morning to you and good morning to your guests in the studio.
Thank you very much for calling in. Good morning.
You're welcome. First and foremost, I think what we need to do is, first of all, to look at the beginning of these challenges we're having as a country, which is the removal of the subsidy that actually bettered the fallout of the crisis we are all experiencing at the moment. And I think I differ from what your guests are saying, in the sense that President Tinubu, as earlier said, he has prepared for this journey before being made being contesting for the presidency and actually winning the election. So I know very well for a fact that if he has had the mind to have removed subsidy, his aid, advisors, and the rest should have worked on modalities to actually mitigate the adverse effect that this will have on our economy. He has a lot of economists in his purview, a lot of financial analysts and all that, who should have told him, if we are to remove this, this is how it's going to triple effect on our economy as a nation and also to the citizens. Then let's make this available needed aid for us to be able to mitigate the impact of this. But this were not done. Now, what we are saying as individuals, as citizens who are actually bearing a lot of challenges as a result of this is, first, let's go back to the drawing board, reverse everything to status quo, put everything that needs to be in place. And once we have that, if everything was in place to actually mitigate this, Nigerians will not be crying. Nigerians will not be having issues with whatever policy the government is doing. But because what we need, no matter, it's just like putting a drop of pin in an ocean as a relief material in the crisis that is rocking over the whole nation in general. So whatever the presidency is doing, some of us are saying it, but it's not touching the lives of millions of Nigerians out there. That's why it looks as if the government is not doing enough. So let's come back to the drawing board. Look at how do we now have solutions that will cut across all the locations as far as this country is concerned.
You know,
have the relief material.
I'm hearing you, Prince, and I in no way, shape, or form I'm contradicting anything that you're saying. But oftentimes it is forgotten that the situation we have on our hands in Nigeria is not a Nigerian situation exclusively. It's a global one. This very situation, this downturn, this country had, it's affecting nations across the globe. And that, unfortunately, okay, but I hear that Prince has gone. But, you know, that's another aspect that has been pointed out, that what is going on and happening to us in Nigeria, it's not a uniquely Nigerian matter. It's biting everybody as hard. But I guess they say a hungry man is an angry man, and the average person will tell you probably that this is not the time to tell me about global, you know, the global situation. I can only see what is happening in my own kitchen and the fact that my pantry is empty. It never was as bad as that, managing as we were. And so these are the things that have been taken on board by the presidency. But I think the most important point that the two gentlemen in the studio have made is that usually these protests are not for destruction. They are to gain attention, to bring attention to bear on what the issues are. And so far, it does seem that what the administration, what the presidency is saying is that you have our attention. The Federal Executive Council, you have our attention. The ambassador was just speaking about the decision taken yesterday that the local refineries, including Dangote, the Dangote refinery, can now source their crude needs in local currency. That is going to save so very much. All of this will be plowed back, although we don't have the time to get into it here, but some other economists are speaking about, well,
but, okay,
yeah.
I wanted to say something. Yes.
Please, sir.
I'd like to add that that it's important that Nigerians, we seem to have forgotten very quickly. It's important that Nigerians know that at the time we were paying subsidy, that Nigerians were borrowing to pay, Nigerian government was borrowing to pay subsidy. So it was never going to be sustainable at all. Don't forget that it wasn't even Tinubu administration that removed subsidy. The budget under President Buhari in 2023 ended subsidy in June that same year. So it means that there was actually no provision for subsidy beyond June that same year. So let's not forget, so soon what the state were as a nation, before these issues began to, step in. When we are rolling back, are we going to roll back, if we want, where are we going to get the funding to pay the subsidy? Are we supposed to also roll back minimum wage? What exactly? So there are a lot of issues that I believe, yes. Yeah, there are a lot of issues that I believe that we need to come together. We need patriots. We need leaders of the country at every level to come together. We need the subnationals to come together and do what will provide the dividends of democracy for the people. It's not going to be an easy ride. There can never be a smooth journey to El Dorado, but we must all come together and have the willingness to work, which is the posture that I see of government today.
Ambassador. we're going to have to leave it there. I want to thank you very, very much. Terence, as I said, we've flatly run out of time.
Yeah.
If you wanted to say a quick 10-seconder, 15-seconder, by all means.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, it's unfortunate that we don't remember most of the decisions we take as citizens in this country. Because this is a country that went on the roads to fight that subsidy should be ended. Today, subsidy has ended, and then someone calls to say that we should go back to status quo. Which status quo are we going back? When we have already felt the pain of the subsidy, and we're already moving out of it. And so, on a final note, Nigerians should be patriotic to their country enough, and we should stop sabotaging efforts of government by allowing politicians to influence our decisions.
Thank you very much, Terence Kwernam. Thank you very much, Special Advisor to the SGF, and also to Ambassador Elijah Onyeagba. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program. That's our program today. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Fola.